All right. All good. Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Replenish Your Life podcast. You're here today with your hosts. I'm Lucy. I'm a certified hypnotherapist, and I'm here with Morgan, who is a business consultant. Hey, Morgan.
Hi.
Hi. So, in today's episode, we are going to be sharing some of our stories with you about how we got to this point. And we're also going to be sharing some tips with you on how to nourish yourself and take care of yourself this year. So,
Mm.
Morgan, first of all, tell us a bit about yourself, who you are, and how you got here to recording this podcast today.
Okay. Well, hi, everybody. So I am a business consultant and I work with creatives and entrepreneurs, soulpreneurs, energy healers, just all wonderful people that come to me for help with creating systems and getting organized and just to help them to grow their business and to actually make it a business that they love to work in and be a part of and to really help them get their creativity out in the world and live really great lives.
Yeah.
So that's what I love to do. So how did I get here to this point? Well, it's been a journey. I've had a lot of experiences in my life and I've been fortunate to wear many different hats in different industries. And I just really loved, I got into the personal development industry and then I started working for a company that developed seminar speakers and or workshop leaders and seminar leaders. And from there, just learning all about the online business. I mean, it's been wow, over over 10 years, 11, maybe even
Mhm.
12 years actually,
Wow.
that I've been doing a lot of this stuff and exploring what that means to be a successful creative person and to also to know myself better and to know others better and work on that. um yeah, just connecting with others and what that means. So yeah, and then here we are. Lucy and I met, and we realized that there needs to be more opportunities for support for each other and to connect with one another and to support each other in our growth, in our evolution, and in stepping into the worlds that we want to create for ourselves
Mm.
and the lives we want to have for ourselves. So yeah, that's what about you, Lucy? How did you get here? Tell us more about yourself.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Um, so first and foremost, I am a certified hypnotherapist, which means that ultimately I help people to feel better about themselves and to move through any blocks or any resistance that they have to living a fully expressed and creatively fulfilling life. So people tend to come to me really when they're going through any kind of major life transition. So whether that's a crossroads in their career, wanting to change career, wanting to pivot, wanting to work for themselves, moving out of corporate, that kind of thing. I'm usually the person they come to in order to put that plan into place and also to get the confidence in place to take the action to do those things. Um, and I also really focus on helping people. It sounds very simple, but helping people to relax and to get a good night's sleep. Yeah, it's one of the most fundamental things in the work that I do is helping people to relax so that they can really figure out the answers for themselves. So giving them the tools they need to empower themselves. It wasn't always like that. So for many,
Mm.
many years, I worked in television broadcasting in the corporate world, and I worked as a strategist in strategy and planning for television channels. Um, and one of the things that I loved about that role was it was about sharing stories. So,
Mm.
creating TV channels to share fascinating stories with people. and to help people to feel engaged and connected through those stories. Um, and that's really been a through line throughout my life. Prior to that, I worked as an actor for a while with a theatre company, and that was that same love, that passion for telling stories, and for sharing adventures on stage with an audience.
Mm.
So getting to this point really was just a multitude of things, but ultimately choosing to leave my corporate job and focus on my health, focus on what I needed to feel better, retraining as a hypnotherapist and as a coach, um, and using all of the tools that I really utilized for myself to help to heal myself
Mm.
within this project. Became a really strong drive for me to actually say, I have used all of these tools, and these are the things that I want to utilize now and share with our community. So that's
Yeah.
about
And
me.
what when Lucy and I met, I realized we had so much in common. And one of the big things was that we'd have both overcome burnout.
Yeah.
So yeah. Um, I mean, I didn't mention that, but it's like I had all these wonderful experiences and all these things that I learned over the years. But in saying yes to everything, it it was too much for my
Mm.
system. Like I had lots of energy, but then there was a point where it's like, okay, the energy was running out.
Yeah.
So yeah, so we when we came together and we talked, you know, we exchanged different tools and techniques and things that had helped us to
Mm.
overcome this burnout. And we had a shared vision about how we wanted our lives to look.
Mm.
And it would be different than what it currently was. Like it was starting to really turn into a life that nourished us and
Yeah.
supported us. And yeah, the more we talked about that, about how we wanted to feel in our lives, we knew that others also wanted to feel this as well, our friends and our clients and our colleagues. And one of the words that kept coming up when we were talking about um, creating a space that was very supportive and nourishing was this word replenish.
Mm.
And it felt so, yeah, how did
Yeah.
that word feel to you? That was such a great word.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's still, it feels good, and just as you say it, it feels like a breath of fresh air. It feels like my shoulders relax, my jaw relaxes, and it's a reminder, it's a mantra, really. It's a reminder
Mhm.
of, taking care of your own energy, taking care of my own energy. um and I need those reminders, similar to you. I
Same.
definitely was an expert at overworking and also not listening to my body. Um, and I needed to replenish myself. So it's definitely a journey that we've both been on, and that we continue to sort of now we're on this journey, but as teachers, which is wonderful. We're in a
Mhm.
position where we're getting to really share the knowledge with other people. So
Mhm.
I remember when we first started TRLP, as you were saying, Morgan, to build a community, a conscious community.
Mhm.
We also wanted to share stories. We have a passion for that. And we wanted to share resources. So, particularly resources around the tools that we've both used to
Mhm.
overcome burnout and to pivot in our lives, change direction, feel more confident and courageous. Some of those tools being human design and astrology, as well as many others, such as meditation, etc. Um, and ultimately, we really wanted to help people to feel better and to do that in community, to feel supported. So when we finished the summit, we did a summit on burnout, and when we completed that summit, um, we had a moment where, well, a couple of moments actually, where we knew we wanted to continue with the Replenishing Life project, but we weren't sure about the direction.
Mhm.
And so, we weren't sure if we wanted to carry on the burnout route or if we wanted to actually pivot and change direction into something else that was related but different. And one of the things that we did working together is we did something that some would say was a bit counterintuitive, in the sense that we paused.
Mhm.
So we didn't jump straight into, you know, making an action plan and creating a strategy and all those things that we'd had, those patterns we'd learned from corporate. We actually waited, and in the waiting, we were listening very carefully to what our audience and what our community was talking about and the questions they were asking. So we were listening, and we were also noticing any of the signs that were coming up, things that we could respond to before making any changes. So in that way, we were able to really truly respond and create this podcast, and also continue to create content and courses for the Replenishing Life project that truly light us up. So that's a nice way of leading into this concept of responding to life. So it's a concept that comes from the system of human design. It's a concept that we both believe in and use in our lives. So Morgan, I was wondering if you could tell us a bit more about how you first discovered human design.
Yeah. Okay. So for anyone who's unfamiliar with human design or new to human design, it's it's similar to astrology. Well, it incorporates astrology, but it's kind of like how you get your astrology chart. So you get a human design chart, and it really shows how you are designed to process your thoughts, energy, feelings, emotions, and information. I mean, it's really amazing. And it's a synthesis actually of astrology, the Chinese I Ching, the Jewish Kabbalah, and the chakra system.
Mm,
So blending of all these things, it's quite an interesting journey to explore your human design chart. And so I believe I was going through my Saturn return.
mm,
And for those of you who are familiar, it's an astrology term. When you're 28, 29 to 30, around there, the Saturn return is kind of a big turning point. Would you
mm.
say, Lucy? It's like a
Oh,
big
yeah.
turning point in your life. Yeah.
Hmm.
And so someone had introduced me, a friend at the time had said, "Oh, yeah, you got to check out this human design." And she asked for all my birth details and information, and created a chart for me. And so I started looking in the book as to what it meant, but I felt, oh my gosh, this is so overwhelming. It's so like there's just so much information, and it really took time for me to integrate it and to allow the information to just um, be absorbed and to sort of marinate.
Yeah.
But what would happen is every once in a while, I would meet a random person that knew about human design, and not a lot of
Um,
people knew about human design at this point. And it's still not like super widely known as astrology is.
mm,
But yeah, I would just randomly meet these people, and so it would remind me, and then I would go back to it again and look at sort of another layer. There's like a lot of layers to the chart for
yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Um, but from learning human design, I've not only learned a lot about myself, but I've learned a lot about others
Mm,
and how we are all so unique and so so perfect in who we are.
mm,
Like we're just, things that I thought were maybe considered faults were actually the way I was designed. And
mm.
there are reasons for that. And that's what makes me who I am. And yeah, it's fascinating. Like, how about you, Lucy?
Well, I
How
just
did you
love,
discover?
yeah, I love what you're saying. I mean, I hear from what you're saying, I hear the one of the key foundations that we teach in the Replenishing Life project, and that is self-acceptance. And
Hmm.
human design is such a fantastic tool to learn self-acceptance. So I love that. So I mean, I had been studying astrology for a very long time. So human design, I think human design actually discovered me or found me through my pursuit of astrology, if that makes sense. I've been into astrology since I was 13. My friend gave me a book on what it means to be a Pisces. I'm a Pisces. And I'd been studying and seeking astrology information and knowledge since then, because I find it fascinating. And I had sort of taken a particular route in my astrology studies to study evolutionary astrology, which is the journey of the soul purpose in this life and other lives, if you believe in that. Um, and I was fully into my study of evolutionary astrology when human design popped up in, I think it was a Facebook group that I was in, and somebody asked a simple question: what's your human design type? And I remember my interest went bing like this. And I thought, wow, what is that? What is my human design? What is that? And I went over to one of the websites and I typed in my birth details. And the first thing I remember was just this incredible realization that it was dancing with astrology, because it is it has an astrological element to it. You've got all the planetary placements as you do in your astrology chart. And yet, here was this system, this body graph, this new information that was just fascinating. And then from there, I think that was about 4 years ago now, 5 years ago. And then from there, it's been a study and a fascination and an experiment on how to integrate the two systems and really live my design. And I guess, similar to you, Morgan, one of the major things that I've learned through understanding my human design and my astrology is self-acceptance, and also, to really honor my intuition, honor my energy, and understand that it's okay to have cycles, and it's okay to have a fluid nature at times. It's okay to go with the flow. That would make more sense, obviously, in a human design context, but it's given me permission to be who I really came here to be, which has been very liberating.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love human design and astrology too. I mean,
Yeah.
um, one thing I really love about astrology is the fact of, or if you've ever heard of the concept of working with the moon phases,
Mm,
and that is something that I've incorporated into my life and my business,
mm.
and it's also something we do with the Replenishing Life project. So, yeah, like. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah, we do. Just quickly before we go into that, can remind us again of your astrology. What's your star sign, your moon, and your rising?
Oh, okay. Taurus sun,
Yeah.
Libra moon, and Cancer rising.
Awesome. Okay. I'm a Pisces sun and a Capricorn moon and an Aquarius rising. Cool. I just wanted to make sure we got that in there. Yeah. So moon phases. So yeah, one of the ways, you know, one of the things that we are both very passionate about with the Replenishing Life Project and in our own lives is creating conscious business practices and creating conscious business actually that moves into the future, that is sustainable. And one of the practices that we've incorporated is working with the moon phases. So, honoring the cycles of the moon, honoring our own energetic cycles. And also, it's actually really fun to, the way that we work creatively with this podcast and the moon phases. For example, we release episodes on the new moons and the full moons, that allows us to have a cycle of productivity and rest. And we also, um, like to tailor the themes of the episodes according to the different elements of the moon phase. So, for example, we tend to talk about more mystical things, more mystical topics, or topics around tapping into your intuition, mediumship, that kind of thing, with a water moon, or when there's going to be a water moon. And we then tend to focus on topics that are more about empowerment and taking empowered action when you have a fire moon. So we have a lot of fun with it. That's how we plan ahead. And often before we go live or we teach a course, we'll always check in. Hey, what's the moon doing?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's become a regular thing. It's part of our
Yeah.
everyday conversations when we meet. So I love that.
And as we talked about, we did a YouTube video. We have a YouTube channel,
Yes.
Replenishing Life Project.
Yes.
Little plug for that.
Yeah.
We
Check
did
it
a
out.
video. Yeah, we did a video on working with the moon phases, and um, our bodies have a lot of water in them,
Mm,
and
mm,
so there is going to be some influence from the moon.
yeah.
So it's like, why not work with the moon phases instead of against them?
Totally. Absolutely. That
Yeah.
episode completely blew my mind. I remember when we were doing our research for it. I mean, we're something like it's 70% water, right?
Yeah,
As
something like that.
beings.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no way that we cannot not be affected, that we can't be affected by the moon,
Hmm.
that we know that we are, and we can't be. I think one of the things that I love about that episode is we were saying we cannot be in the full moon phase all the time. We're going to ebb
Exactly.
and flow just as the moon does. Yeah, I remember that. That was really powerful.
And that ties into one of the biggest lessons that I've learned over the last
Mm,
year is about resting when I need to, and it's not about forcing my energy or forcing myself to do things or
yeah.
exhausting my energy. It's like I do have and when you learn about human design, or if you know about human design, I'm a generator type,
Mm,
which means that I have this consistent energy coming through me all the time. But the thing is, if I align that energy with things that are not a good vibrational match, or
mm,
that don't really light me up, as Lucy said earlier, that don't, you know, that is going to the energy is going to just start to peter out.
yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just not going to be there for that, and it's going to end up feeling like you can get burnt out or
Mm,
exhausted. And
yeah.
yeah, so that's definitely one of the big lessons from this year.
Huge. Yeah, I love
Um,
that. And just to add to that, I'm also a generator type. I'm a manifesting generator. And one of the biggest lessons that I've learned is, and it's over the last year, but also over the last couple of years actually, is to recognize obligation energy and to recognize that it's real. It's not
yeah.
bad. You're not a bad person for experiencing it or engaging with it, but to recognize it. And when you recognize it and acknowledge that it's there, you're empowered to take action, to actually change, or to pause, and to
Mm,
shift your energy into something that doesn't feel like an obligation, that feels enlivening, or that just feels sustainable. So
mhm,
that's been really, really important. And for me, it's also about letting go of the hustle mindset. I mean, I think
mm.
that's perhaps we can all agree that that's something that is old news now. It's not the way that we like to do business, and it doesn't work for
Yeah.
us. Um, in saying that, letting go of the hustle mindset doesn't mean being passive at all. It means
Mm-mm.
taking inspired action rather than forced action,
Mhm.
so that you have, when your opportunities come to you, you have all of the resources and the energy that you need to really take that moment and to flourish, rather than getting to that point and thinking, oh crap, I'm exhausted. Where
Yeah.
do I go from here? Um, so it's also just about being mindful of your own energy,
Mhm.
as a generator type. Again, recognizing that you're here to be joyful, and
Mhm.
you are here to really do things that light you up inside and that fill you with joy, because you have an innate magnetism that switches on. You don't have to work hard for that at all. And when you are
Mhm.
lit up, that magnetism is really there for you and works for you.
Mhm.
So yeah.
Yeah, and just to add to that, like there are some things that we people need to do as that need to get done at a certain
Yeah.
point. And so there are those tasks that need to get done, which may not be super exciting or may not feel lit up,
Exactly.
but what I feel that we're saying is that when we honor more of our energy flow, and when we have the energy to say, um, do some work or some writing or something creative or
Mm.
whatever it is that you do, um, then and rest when you need to, then there's more energy to get those tasks accomplished
Yeah.
that need to be done,
Yeah.
and
Of course.
yeah, yeah. So then life doesn't always feel like a drag all the time,
Yeah. 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 Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it doesn't get to a point where, there's overwhelm because it's
Yeah.
real as well and it happens. Um, and yeah, it's easier when it's easier to avoid overwhelm when
Mhm.
you work in a pattern that's, in alignment with your energy.
Yes, yes, exactly. So, Lucy, I want to
Yes.
ask you,
Yes.
how do you replenish yourself?
Oh, that's a good question. So there's a couple of things. Um, I replenish myself through meditation.
Mhm.
I'm a big fan of sound healing and soft, gentle sounds. So I
Mhm.
like to listen to sound healing, sound baths, that kind of thing. I find that very, very replenishing and nourishing. Spending time with my pets, of course, my
Yeah.
animals, and my husband, of course. And being outside as well, spending some time outside, going for long walks. Um, I find the thing that replenishes me is something that I spoke about earlier, is to really honor my intuition
Mhm.
and trust that, and to believe myself, not to doubt myself, believe my intuition, and to really respect that. And to, take responsibility for my own actions, also to take responsibility for my emotions,
Mhm.
um, to acknowledge how I feel. That's very, very important, not to try and stuff my emotions down, um,
Mhm.
but to honor them, and to, again, to have respect for my emotions and to take responsibility for them. So
Nice.
how about you, Morgan? How do you replenish yourself?
Yeah. I do love taking time away from the screen.
Mm-hmm.
That has really helped, actually, because running a business online, there's a lot of screen time.
Yeah.
And so if I can take time away, so whether that's going for a walk in nature or just like reading from a book,
Mm.
um and exploring things that I'm interested in, and I really love to cook and to
Yeah.
bake and stuff. So I love doing that. I find that really relaxing. Um, and it doesn't even really matter if things don't turn out like, well, I mean, they usually turn out, but it's more about just doing that and having fun
Mm.
with creating something.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and learning more about astrology. I love listening to astrology podcasts
Mm.
and human design, learning more about that, and um, allowing myself to be seen has also been a big thing for me, and it's actually really replenished me in
Mm.
ways that I'm not even really I can't even really sort of put into words just yet. And
Mm.
it's still an ongoing process, um, from being someone who's a little more introverted or
Mm. Yeah.
so yeah, and self-acceptance, that's something that replenishes me, but that I want to be aware of and mindful of
Mm.
all the time. So yeah.
Beautiful.
All
Yeah.
those things. I'm sure there's more. I mean, I do love, music as well, and,
Yeah.
you know, and like softer sounds and, just great people and
Mm.
family, all
Yeah.
those things.
Connection. Yay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. That's beautiful.
Great.
Cool.
Well, thank you everybody for joining us. And we hope you enjoyed this episode. And we have lots of stories to share with you that we'd love to, we'd love to share more.
Mhm.
So let us know. Send us an email or join us on social media. We're on Instagram
Mhm.
at Replenishing Life Project, and we have a YouTube channel as well,
Mhm.
Replenishing Life Project, and also a Facebook page, Replenishing Life Project. You probably already guessed that. Yeah.
Cool. Thanks, everyone. Thanks,
Thank you.
Morgan. We'll chat to you again
Yeah. Thanks,
soon.
Lacey. Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.